We can start out by talking about your background and how you got into, uh, well, not just museum work, but also sports, because you are also an athlete. So you take the order of which sequence you want to present, how you got into working in a sports museum until we get to the whole.
I've been playing rugby since actually high school. I played sports throughout high school. I wrestled. I played football. I played intramural basketball. Wasn't terribly great at that sport, but I had a lot of fun. And it was my senior year, and me and my friends were looking for a new sport or something different to occupy our spring season. And so we stumbled upon rugby, actually, which was a club sport through a few neighboring high schools. I continued to play rugby throughout college, and then due to my travel and moving for different museum opportunities, I continued to play to this day. I think as long as I can put the cleats on myself, I will continue to play. Yeah, so the way I got into sports museums really was the fact that after my undergraduate studies, which was actually education, uh, being a Broadfield social studies teacher, I realized that I really wanted to stay in the history field, but maybe not in the traditional classroom. So when I got back to grad school, I made sure I was still mentoring kids. I worked at middle schools and high schools. I actually had a brief stint in a daycare, which at 25, I think I changed my first diaper, which is something I never really anticipated the course of my life going. But after my first semester of graduate school, I had the opportunity to actually work in our archives at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. And that's really where I started to find a passion for organizing and really understanding the process of archiving and how that all played in. I had the opportunity to actually intern at the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, during the summer of 2016. And that was largely in part due to where I attended undergrad and graduate school at Eau Claire, because the current Packers Hall of Fame curator, who also started the New England Patriots Hall of Fame, attended Eau Claire as well. Our professors knew we had similar interests with my background in both playing sports, but also just having a passion and interest in sports and history, were able to connect us together. And I mentioned how I really got into the sports aspect. One of the greatest pieces of advice I was given both as an undergrad and graduate was, if I'm going to write, my capstone paper in undergrad or my master's thesis in graduate school, it had to be something I was truly passionate about. So my undergrad was actually on the birth of early American rugby, the birth of early American football, which was really the death sentence to rugby in the United States during the early 1920s. I then wrote my master's thesis on college football stadiums in the 1920s, primarily focusing on three memorial stadiums. It was basically case studies at the University of Minnesota, Illinois, and Indiana, and really tracking and charting how those stadiums came to be during the onset of a war we had barely been in, but also on the brink of real passion for college football, which really was pronounced throughout the 1920s.
Talk about what you did at the NFL Hall of Fame and moving into the Pro College Football Hall of Fame, how they are different, but what you learned and how it's contributing to your work that you're doing right now, which is tremendous. I mean, you have so many responsibilities, which we'll talk about, and you need help. Single-handedly, you're handling all these different responsibilities.
At the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it was really my first experience with a large collection of, as you mentioned, social history, really dealing with American football, which, as we've talked about, is one of those interesting sports throughout the world that it's really distinctly American. Although it does have its roots in proper football and of course rugby, going back to probably about 1905, the rules changed to the level that it really became a distinctly American sport. At the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they really highlight the professional teams, which, give or take, there's 32 on any given year. As the NFL has developed and evolved, more teams have been added, some teams have been lost. But in general, it's a much smaller sample size of players and coaches and just, I think, memorabilia in general, except that the NFL from an early age really did a good job of keeping a lot of their memorabilia intact. Although there is the first NFL championship trophy that somehow has gone missing and has not been found to this day. It's one of those 100-year-old mysteries that no one really knows what happened to the first trophy. But that job and that experience really helped me both on a professional and a personal level of understanding the rich history of American football. It really helped me in my journeys, of course, traveling and ended up working at the College Football Hall of Fame. It was a bit of a culture shock moving from the Midwest, from Wisconsin, and working at museums up there to being in the South, which is really the heart of college football country. It's really not what professional team you cheer for down here. It is definitely what college you cheer for or what college you attended. And so that was one of the things that I think it added an extra level of, I think, Americanness, if that makes sense, to understanding just the social history and the context of American football.